sumos are pretty technical, so we'll leave it. Anyway, right. A couple of things with the convention. I mean, the first thing. Right, hey everyone, going to do a beginner's deadlift tutorial today for Powervolve. Right, okay, so this is just going to be a conventional deadlift. I generally think most beginners should start with a conventional. I don't really think it's a good idea to start with sumo. Anyway, first thing, so I like to split it up into two bits. The first bit being like your lower body setup and then upper body. The first thing you need to get, oh by the way, before I start, I'll often warm up with an empty bar. In fact, I always warm up with an empty bar. For the sake of saving time today, we'll go straight to one plate. Right, first thing you need to be aware of is your stance weight. Generally what people will say is like, if you were to suddenly jump, then like, just do like a jump stance width. And that should be where you're most powerful. Some people will then adjust to go slightly closer, slightly wider. I go slightly closer, so I do about hips width. That's that. Generally, the larger people with like bigger bellies essentially will then go wider just for the sake of having space for their hips. Right. Now you've got your stance, you need to think where the bar lines up over your feet. So, what I like to do, generally people say like over your midfoot, I go for slightly further forward. So if you look over here, from the top, it will be directly over this part of my shoe. So like where the laces kind of meet the like toes, I guess. So yeah. From my point of view, the bar is straight over there, over that bit of my foot.
Okay.
From here, in terms of kind of the angle at your knees and your hip angle and at your ankles. For most people, you can set that just by bringing your shins to the bar. And then that will generally be a good position. Now some people need to go slightly back, especially if you've got longer femurs. Sometimes your shins won't always touch the bar at the beginning. But for the majority of people, your shins should be in contact with the bar. Now if you want to look from the side, what that looks like. So that will be the starting bend and the angles that you want to have roughly. The common problem is a lot of people will try to squat the weight up to do that, which is just really inefficient and silly, so you don't want to do that. It's not going to help you that much. Right, so once you've got the starting position set up in terms of your hip and your knee bend, you want to set up your upper body. Now, it's a good idea you want to be as tight as you can. You want to keep your back as tight as you can. The thing with the deadlift, you want to maintain the same back position the whole time. So, there are lots of different opinions on how to do it. Some people think you should deadlift with a completely straight back. Some people think you should round your thoracic spine. That's generally quite common view. Some people think it's a good idea to just have a general round through the whole spine. The key thing to remember is you want to, whatever you have with your back position, you want it to stay that way. If you are a person that goes from like a thoracic round and then you lift and then you round your lumbar, that's when you're going to cause injury.
Yeah.
If you start with a bit of a round in your lumbar, that's okay, so long as you maintain it. Anyway, I prefer to at least be tight here and be quite straight there. If there's a bit of rounding off the back, that's fine. Right, in terms of setting up, generally with setting up your upper body, you want to breathe into your core, be really tight around here, and then you want to engage your lats by essentially pulling your shoulders down like that. So if you're down there, your shoulders will pull back like that. So you kind of do that thing with the bar. So if I set my hips and my knees in position, I pull myself to the bar, then I tighten my lats, and then you can already see his tightness coming. And the bar sometimes, when it's like a lightweight like this, you'll notice the bar will just lift off the floor when you get tight.
Yeah.
Like that. And that's kind of what you do. From there, it's pretty simple. It's just pushing through your legs and then pushing your hips through. So that's basically it. So you breathe in. So I like to raise my hips when I breathe in, just to create a bit of space, because like when you're all crouched up like that, there's not much space for your belly to like expand with air. You want to breathe into your stomach. So the other thing to be aware of when setting your upper body, you want to have your scapulae in line with the bar. So scapulae, obviously your shoulder blades. You don't want to be too far over the bar. That's just going to keep you forward. You're not going to be able to pull the bar back or push your hips through easily. And you don't want to, again, like if you're trying to squat the way up like a lot of people do, you can see that puts you in a bad position because your scapulae then go behind the bar.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to be there. That's generally a good position. From there, it's all about just staying really tight. And there are different ways. Like some people like to kind of slam their legs into the ground and really explode off the floor. Right now, I quite like to squeeze the bar off the floor almost. So the way I do that is I breathe in, then I pull myself into the bar, tighten my lats up, and then push through my quads and then push my hips through. Now with that, firstly, as you're pushing through your legs, the bar will start to rise. Now the closer you get to your knees, the more you want to start pushing your hips forward to lock it out. Essentially, the earlier you can get your glutes activated and your hamstrings to lock out the weight, the easier it will be. Now, generally by the time the bar is in contact with your knee, your hips and your glutes should be activating to lock out the weight. Other thing is the bar should always be in contact with your legs the whole way up. So you don't want to have the bar be away from your legs up to your knee, because that's just tipping you forward and making it far harder. You want to keep the bar as close to your hips or your center of mass as possible. So in terms of what that will look like again, it'll go from here. And so you see there, the bar stayed in contact with my leg the whole time, which is why you're getting these streaks. Yeah. Yeah. I think last thing is just head position and neck position. So generally what I like to do is I like to have my neck back and then chin in. So from the side, it'll look like that. You see a lot of people kind of look up on their deadlift like that. I don't really like that on a conventional deadlift. I often just look straight there and then I go. And then my chin's still tucked in at the top. That's it really.
Oh.
There's your beginner's tutorial. Yeah, that should be good.
Back then I didn't know how to sumo, so